Alliance community. How y'all doing today?
What it is.
Well, both of us are not in our element.
But we are in another element.
We are.
Like mine. How you liking yours?
It's cool, man. I Hotlanta,
Yeah.
did something like 25,000 steps yesterday. Did a couple intentional calorie burns. Olympic Park, pretty cool little place to go. I actually have a 4 mile run that I got to knock out today. So,
We're kind of different, man. I'm sunny South Florida, Hollywood Beach. If you can't tell, uh, I've ate a pint of ice cream 3 out of the 4 nights I've been here. Donuts yesterday. I fell off the wagon, Zach.
Well,
and we got Travis now.
Yeah, Travis.
Morning.
We wanted to bring EJ on because he's got a run. But actually, what inspired me to come on this morning and do it quick before I ran to the next one is one of our favorite verses here, Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. Let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. And actually what brought that up is Rob Jones. He sent me a message last night and was just, sharing. And I thought about the videos that you've been doing this week, EJ. And, it's just such an important topic. We really need to continue what we're doing. We really need to continue meeting together and encouraging each other and spurring each other on. The message from Rob was just super encouraging last night. So
that's good, man. We appreciate it, Rob. Man, it's been fun being down here and meeting some of these other people in the industry again. Just trying to bring whatever we can to elevate. There's a lot of people out there doing good stuff, and if we find out about it, you're gonna find out about it.
It's true. How you doing this morning, Travis?
It was one of those nights where I just couldn't turn my brain off to sleep, so it's like minimal sleep, waking up early to hop on here. But one of those things when you're a business owner, it happens when you start thinking about your business and things to improve on, and you're like, go to bed, but you can't stop thinking of ideas and stuff like that. So it was one of those nights for me, because my dad ended up starting this management. He moved to Hawaii, and he's with this really large company. So he's going through their training stuff because he's going to be running the HVAC side of the things because they're this massive plumbing company that just started doing HVAC last September, so it's coming up on a year. But they got deep pocketbooks and they got a bunch of really good training, and their average tickets are insane. They're $1,500 on HVAC side of things. So it has me thinking of what to do to increase our ticket sizes, because their motto is to stay in with the customer a lot longer. Don't be in and out. Really, they do a free safety analysis even for their HVAC techs to go down to their water heater, and they put a big sticker on it. They show the customers where their water cutoff is, for emergencies and stuff like that. And it really has me thinking of things that I can implement, to kind of go over and beyond, but then also, where we can provide extra services to, maybe not have where the techs are running 8 calls, maybe have them down to 5 calls a day, but they're making up for extra sales and stuff that we can kind of add value to the customer and stuff like that, which is a really good mindset to kind of go in, because, where customers don't think you're trying to be in and out or rushing, and, you could be offering more things, in your services, to help provide a better service and a better experience for the customer.
Quality over quantity for sure is an important thing. And I think that's kind of what you're going through down there, right, EJ? Is you're really trying to get some more leveled up training to bring that quality to your
Yeah,
customers as well.
yeah, that's right. With my business, we're doing the best we can to take care of customers. We do the right thing, but uh, the industry changes. As you come into it or as you stay in it, you got to keep up with your training. Uh, the stuff that's coming out nowadays, it's not the stuff that you guys grew up with 10, 20 years ago, where you could just get in there and wing it and figure it out. You have to stay on top of your game, and that's what this is. And I'm still learning a lot, but I've learned a lot this week.
Even on top of your game, it's hard to stay ahead of it. Actually, Jamie Nero, when he popped in to pick up some of the parts that I'm selling from me, we were talking about it. He's been doing it since he's 15. I've been doing it for 10 years, and just, I mean, our area specifically maybe is I don't know if it's different than others, but just some of the things that we have in Chicagoland. The two of us looked at each other and we're just like, we're tired. Like, we are tired. And I know there's other guys out there that are dealing with that, but then you add that level of complexity to it, right? These ever changing appliances, and where you're going one direction, Travis and EJ, where you're trying to take care of your customers, you're trying to provide that quality versus quantity. We have manufacturers that are going for quantity, 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 and it's kind of countering everything that we're trying to do. So we have to get creative in ways. How do we level that up when the manufacturers aren't? And that's across the board. That's not just appliances, right? HVAC, electrical. It's plumbing. It's in all of them. Every single manufacturer is doing the same kind of things. So,
Hey, since I can't stay very long, you guys want to do prayer real quick?
sure. Yeah, let's pray it up, man.
Yep.
Let's do prayer. Zach, I like hearing you, man.
Dear Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this chance that we've had to gather together, even though we're all over the country. And EJ and myself are traveling and outside of our element. Father, we thank you for this time together, and we thank you that we don't neglect it, that we've made it a priority in our days, a rock in our days for all of us as a community. Father, we just thank you for the ability to gather together, and we pray that you bless those that are traveling, bless those that are working, and just continue to be with us as a community. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
One thing that hit me while you was talking earlier is, the last 2 weeks before this week, we talked a lot about the pressures and stresses of the everyday grind and dealing with the seasons of change and the stress and how do you unwind and I'll tell you what, Zach, I don't know about you, but getting away and changing my focus just for a week uh, has really helped me. I got a different environment. Uh, I'm still working, but it's training. It's different, and I've got my good guys running stuff. Shout out to 5 Star Mike and Terry, Bill installing parts. I've not had to worry about it so much. I mean, I'm big brother. I'm checking in, but I ain't answering my phone through the day, and it's been nice to have just a little break to reset.
Well, and I've kind of been beating on that the last couple of weeks, right? Change of pace, change of place. And for me, I might be in hot Atlanta right now, and the craziest king suite I've ever been in that was cheaper than the freaking queen one. But weird. It is weird when I sent my wife pictures yesterday. She's like, "How? I don't know. Whatever."
I got a 1-bedroom Airbnb on the beach for less than the other guys got about 20 minutes inland at a hotel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Like,
like
hey,
so.
I'll take
It's
it.
a hotel with like it's like a 9/10 of a mile walk to the convention center. And anyway, um, no, but I've been kind of beating that dead horse, right? Change of pace, change of place. So while I'm here, I'm still working, right? Like, um, Rob Jones was actually laughing at me yesterday. I'm like, dude, my TV stand or whatever you call it looks like a freaking GNC. So I had an entire suitcase for my meal replacements and my supplements and my workout clothes. You come to a health coach convention and you have goals, you're still going to keep working your goals. There you go. See, um, but the point of that is like there's still a change of pace. There's still a change of place. And so for me, like just wandering around and chatting with my wife on the phone or chatting with clients on the phone or whatever it was yesterday as I was just kind of going through the day, it's that change of pace and change of place like you're experiencing. You're hanging out, you're chilling on the beach. Travis, I'm sure you have things that you do to kind of, you're sharing like your mind was running a million miles a second, but there has to come a time where you do kind of change that pace, change that place, because then you can be more creative. If you're to the point of exhaustion, you can't get creative.
No, that is completely true. And even it helped. Also, even if you start up like a second location, like whenever I had my Vegas location, it was amazing just going out there, whenever I was running that, completely changed pace. I'm still working, still doing the same thing, but just a different environment. Just you're out of your bubble a little bit, so you kind of decompress and, you know, from running service for so long, if you're kind of running the same area too, you just like it's not really exciting. Something about just like a change of scenery, is like a pep in your step, and stuff
I,
like that.
I'm convinced that's why Stephen Hughes is able to pull off what he pulls off, because he's got the Kentucky location and he has the location down in New Orleans, right? It's New Orleans or it's in Louisiana for
It's
sure.
I believe it's Baton Rouge. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's putting in the grind. Anybody that thinks that everything's easy when you take on a Mr. Appliance franchise, Steve's been doing it for a while, and even taking another one, it's not turnkey. He's putting in the work. He
Kind of lost him, but yeah, it is one of those like you have to work it, and you can either work it or you can not. The choice is yours, right?
Yeah,
Like there's guys that buy those franchises that the Mr. Appliance in Chicagoland, forget about it. I wouldn't touch that with
gotta
a
go.
10-foot pole. Peace
See you
no,
out,
you
guys.
guys.
do. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
they
like
give
I
you a successful plan, but like you still
yeah,
have the same day in and day out struggles that even a non-franchise owner has, which is
yeah.
finding technicians that care, and your company is only as good as your technicians and your employees, and that's a struggle, like they can give you the formula, but if you can't master those or you don't put in the effort and care and put that as a priority, then you're just not going to be running a successful business no matter what it is.
Actually, so this quote from Grant Cardone, he put this up yesterday. If you don't lead your people by example, they will be led by others that don't have your best interest in mind. And that's so true, right? I mean, that's just such a true statement. Like I think of um, it all kind of trickles down, right? So if you're not leading your team, someone else is leading your team, for better or for worse, right? Like they're either being led by the prevailing winds of customers driving them, or whatever other BS is in the market, chuck in a truck style mentality, or they're being led by you, the way that you want your company to head, taking care of customers. It's one or the other, right?
Yep.
So those are just weird things that run through the head as, you know, I was awake for 22 hours yesterday. I'm a little fried.
Yeah. I know yesterday was early morning, and I think I finally. I know I tried to start going to bed about like 11:30, which it was like a long time before I crashed out. So it was like probably well past 1 o'clock, and then boom, I'm up at 5:30.
Yeah,
So it was.
let's see, Tuesday night, I tried to go to bed at about 7:30 because I knew if I went to bed at 7:30, I'd get 6 hours of sleep. Didn't happen. So that alarm went off at 1:30. I was like,
You're supposed to be on the other side of this, switching. You're not having to deal with the stresses of business and stuff like that. But see, it's still a different field, same thing. Where you're
yeah.
excited
Well,
and
yeah. And I think that's more of it. It's the excitement, right? Like there's 15,000 coaches from across the country down here, and there's literally thousands of coaches that I actually know I've had interactions with over the last 3 years, and so I'm really excited to see everyone together again.
it's like your version of ASTI again. Where
Yeah,
you
like a
guys all.
really scaled up at it. Yeah, like it's pretty cool. They're in the Sears Center. Like when I went 3 years ago, we were capped out at 3,000 people at a Gaylord in Florida. Like they could not fit any more people in that building. Like, we have to change what we're doing. And now they're in this giant convention center. So, but yeah, it's that excitement. It's also knowing that if I didn't catch that first flight out in the morning, I would be like some of my friends who ended up getting in at like 12 o'clock last night. Because again, you have like the airlines are going through this too, right? Like most of your flight delays are because they can't get staff. And it's not that they can't get staff, it's that they've treated their staff like crap for so long. No one wants to be a part of it. I think back to when I came out of A&P school. I'm actually a licensed airframe power plant mechanic. I had a buddy who was a line mechanic for a major airline, and he made more money as a butcher at Jewel than he did as an airline mechanic. That's screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, same thing right now, like too, because of course I'm hiring for another technician, so I've been going through my interview processes, and same thing where this guy was being like an aviation tech, and he's like, hey, it's like the jack of all trades. You get to do like everything, all in like one. But he's like, I went to school for it, but I can't find a job, and if I do find a job, they're not paying like anything. So that's why he's kind of venturing out. And he's like, the appliance trade seems like an awesome trade to get into, and he has the background, that he would be super successful in this, trade and stuff like that, and
they're begging for mechanics, but they don't want to pay what mechanics are worth. I mean,
but some appliance companies are like that too. Why they can't.
That was the point. Was the point.
My starting pay, I know I'm in, Denver, which is a little bit more expensive, but, I pay my guys hourly and stuff like that. And then I try to, give incentives and stuff like that. But, I have to start out at $25 an hour, which in all grand scheme of things, it's not that much, but companies don't want to start out with that. They're like, no experience, like I used to be able to do $12 or $15 an hour. It's like, those times are way past us, like you can't.
Which is unfortunate. It is unfortunate because there's something to be said about growing through the ranks, right? Like, I think back to my early years. Don't go calling a labor board, but I'm in fifth grade, and my dad looks at me and goes, go get a job, like go get a job. And he calls my godfather up and goes, dude, the kid needs to work. Like, I'm not playing this game. And I started baling hay in fifth grade for my godfather, right? And every summer, my godfather's picking me up at 5:30 in the morning, going out to bale hay with him. But I started at $6 an hour in fifth grade. And, you're talking 3-4 days a week, 8-10 hour days, right? And you do that all summer long. Well, then the next year, I'm more experienced. All of a sudden, I'm making $8 an hour. All of a sudden, I'm making. When I stopped doing it my sophomore year, I was making $22 an hour baling hay.
Yeah,
So there's something to be said about scaling through it, but you also have to be able to attract. Right?
I mean, another thing of it too is, just like things from like, say 1990, and someone getting out of high school and being able to like afford rent and stuff like that, and what the pay was there, like it is scaled and rent has like jumped up so much where it's like just so out of whack, and like the average pay salary that, businesses in general really hasn't gone up to match up to where rent is and just price of living, which is a shame. And I feel like we're in that correction where things have to correct,
They're gonna have to
on that standpoint. And that's why I was like, you know what, like, do I really want to pay $25 to start out? Like, no, not really, but someone does need a livable wage to start out, even though like I'm having to train.
Here's a perfect example. Kyle started for me 5 years ago, and I started him at $13 an hour.
Yeah.
Wait for the next comment. Now he's making double that 5 years later because he learned a skill and he grew through the pain. Like, and $13 an hour at that point for someone with literally no experience, no tools, no nothing, took him from the ground, not having a clue, up to a moderately skilled technician, right? Like that wasn't a normal thing, So I would have been rich. My grandfather. Well, but that was the thing with my godfather too. Like he didn't really need that business per se. It was just they had the farm, so they baled the hay. But his thing was my godfather was a businessman, and so he wanted to teach people how to be business savvy, how to treat employees, how to lead by example. My godfather always had a lesson, still has a lesson. We'll have to talk about him more sometime, Rob. But yeah, my godfather's a really cool guy.
Yeah, I know. This other Facebook page, there's this guy that, same type of thing, raising the ranks, but this HVAC company was starting this newer tech, off at $20 an hour. He showed this temperature gauge of like 114 degrees. And he's like, I really don't see that this is really going to be so much like in my future for $20 an hour having to deal with this crazy heat, and I swear he probably had like 180 comments just on that post, on this HVAC forum, and they're like, I used to make $350 an hour, back in like 76 when I first started out, and now I'm own my own business and I make over $100 an hour, like just stick with it, and
but
that is true.
There's a difference between being a curmudgeon-y old jagoff going, I make $350 an hour in a hot attic all year, and you should like making $12. No, but there's also the other side of that, where if you have no experience, like you're like we're so used to high schools telling kids like, oh, you're going to go to college and you're going to make $100 an hour when you get out. No, that's a load up, and we all know it. So like we got to find some middle ground somewhere, right?
Yep.
$4 an hour to do shop work, and that was I mean, like I think I started for. I don't even remember what I started in the appliance industry 10 years ago, but it was not a lot.
Yeah, mine was, which at least I've worked for my dad. So, I mean, he paid me, I thought it was fantastic money. I mean, he paid me $20, per completed call, which I thought was Fantastic. Sometimes those 2 trips, like, was it a lot back then? Not really, but back then I had a 2-bedroom apartment for $650 a month, which was,
Yeah.
I was 18 and was living on my own and was, at least comfortable, getting into the industry and stuff like that. But
One of the things I was thinking about, and maybe this is a whole nother topic for another day, but I think one of the things that we've failed as business owners in is training our people in how to be responsible with money, because that is somewhat right. If we want a specific culture in our company, then it is somewhat our responsibility. I think of Dave Ramsey, who like he teaches how to be fiscally responsible within that, right? And where that whole rabbit trail led us, we have a bunch of people running the country that aren't fiscally responsible at all. And so who's teaching us to be fiscally responsible, right? Like, and
schools too, aren't
yeah,
doing it, and
right.
in other countries put that a higher tier. And America, we don't, which is kind of a downfall. We don't know much about money and know how to use money, which I think is, you know, from the rich and
We've
poor,
added
the rich
thirty
and the middle
trillion
class.
dollars. We've added $30 trillion in debt. I just saw a graphic the other day on it, and like 7 trillion came in the last like 3 years. Like,
Oh yeah, we keep giving
holy
money out to
crap!
everyone. Like it's like, oh, well, let's go ahead and send millions and millions of dollars to this country. Which, I
Yeah,
guess it
I mean,
helps them.
so that may be a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But I have a feeling that you've kind of led by example with your guys as well. Like, hey, like, you should be doing some of these things to then provide for your future, and companies that really, there you go. And then let's go back to this. I started with shop work, $4 an hour, 25 years ago. So like, I mean, like, it was all kind of there. But um, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that you lead by example with some of that. So we'll have to dig into that. We'll have to dig into that topic more. But I think it's important for us as business owners to set our employees up for success, but at the same time, like, our employees need to be willing to dig in and pursue that success as well, right? Like, we didn't just magically become business owners.
Yeah, and I mean that's a little bit why I have my technicians on where they're making hourly, where they're a W-2 employee, just for the mistakes I made being a subcontractor, not putting money away. And you have that big lump sum from the IRS come in, and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't save any of that money up, so I kind of do that to kind of shield, um, my technicians on not having to deal with that, because I mean that's a huge stressor, that you can
Mhm.
throw, they're like, I'm making awesome money, I can afford this and that, and then they're like, oh, here's 10 to
3,000,
15,000.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, you can get up there, like if you don't save your write-offs, like, and some people they're just gonna try like, what's what do I need to save all these receipts for? They have like no write-offs even though they should, and then they're
yeah,
paying this crazy lump sum, you know,
yeah,
is my reasoning, everyone's different, some people like to do the 50-50 split. It's easier for business owners not having to mess with the taxes side of things, but I you know, there's
well, it can go both
perks
ways
about both.
because
Yeah.
you can teach. Have a good day, brother. Enjoy. I take it you're down there with EJ. Drop a comment. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it can go both ways. If you're trying to create the next generation, then absolutely teaching them, like, and I don't think a lot of guys do it intentionally. I think you're right. They just don't feel like dealing with the taxes and stuff. But I think if you're trying to build up the next generation, that's a great way to do it. Like, hey, this is what it takes to be a business owner. So if you can't figure out how to do it on this small scale, how do you think you're going to do it when you have a bigger company, right? Like, bigger business, bigger problems. We say it all the time. Bigger business, bigger problems. No one. It's a universal truth that you don't realize until you're in the middle, kind of in the middle of it. You experience that. You've talked about that on here before. Like, all of a sudden you're big and you're like, oh man, I was not ready for that.
It's like, I just wanted the success portion of it. I didn't realize all the, the bigger the mountain you grow, the faster the shit rolls down. And it goes, like, it's all the stuff you got to deal with, and yeah, that is true, on it. I know, Bo, and us, we were having a first conversation on one of the chats or whatnot. I think it might have been one of the ones that Alex set up last time, and like, he's in Canada, and of course, like, you can't have subs, so you have to, have employees, and you really, honestly, like, to do it legit, everyone's breaking rules, when they're, when they have appliance technicians that are running subcontractors, because they're not supposed to legally, you're not supposed to give them a schedule, like, they're basically just supposed to go in each day and pick whatever calls they want to run, which is not feasible, like, in this industry. Like, you got to give them a route and stuff like that. But a lot of stuff like that, that's like, or you can get caught or you can get in trouble. No, but legally, no. And that's the reason why I kind of went, hourly W-2 employees, just for that fact. You don't have as much control, or you're not so legally, you really don't have much control at all, and of course, it's like my business, I want stuff to be ran a certain way, and that's the only way to really do it.
Depends on the state too, because I went through this. I actually, HR guy, which, if you haven't watched that episode of the podcast, go find it on YouTube. The HR guy, here's a fine, there's a fine, everywhere a fine. Great episode. Ian is a really smart dude. He's helped me a lot over the years with HR related issues. But he dug into Illinois' laws, and like, I was to a T as I was paying guys as subs. Illinois is the most strict in some things and the most lenient in other things. So like, it was just like,
you're overtaxed too. You're like one of the highest taxed areas.
Yeah, but like, their requirements for subcontractors were so lenient that, like, he's like, I don't even understand, like, how you're able to just look. It would literally be like getting away with stuff. Like, he's like, you can do this and you can do that. He goes, you go to HVAC or you go to any other state and try and do that crap, and you're going to jail. He goes, but Illinois, it's legal. He's like, doesn't mean it's ethical, but it's legal to do. And I'm like, oh. Anyway, so, but that's where it's important to, that's a whole nother topic. Make sure that you have someone advising you. How many business owners go into this stuff and they don't have anyone helping them or teaching them, and they're just making it up. And then all of a sudden the fines come and they're like, oh.
It's a lot of responsibility, and yeah, not everyone knows everything, or does everything by the T, but you'll eventually learn, but you're learning the hard way, but you're responsible for it. That's the one thing. Hey, you're making extra money, but that money tends to sometimes flow out, some dumb mistakes that you make, that you just learn from and you chalk it up as a business expense. But yeah, it happens.
That's funny. Well, I gotta go run, like literally run. I got a 4-mile tempo run, and then I have to go run to our first session for the day. But it's been fun chatting with you. I'm glad you were able to make it on. I wasn't sure if you were going to pop on at all. And EJ popped in. I'm like, hey, we'll at least talk for a little bit.
I was trying. I know we've been starting earlier and earlier, so it's like I think I might need to hop on a little bit
So I
before 6.
typically,
No,
for me, I try and start right at 10 till. That way we have a
gotcha.
little wiggle room. So if we got to be off at, you know, normally 7:30 my time, 8:30 Eastern, then we can be off and on to our days or whatever. But you never know. But I typically do not start any earlier than 10 till the hour. So anyway,
I'll hop on
but it's
early.
always good to chat with you, brother. It's always good to chat with you, brother.
It's great chatting with you. I'm glad that we're able to hop on and have some discussion.
Yeah, I almost wasn't going to do it today. I'm like, man, it's like yesterday was a marathon. Today is going to be a marathon. Nothing in me wanted to do it. I'm like, well, you know what? We got to make time for what's important, right? This is important. So that was the verse.
That is true, and hey, it's accomplished, your first task of the day, accomplished. Now go do your run and in the hot Atlanta heat. That's probably already humid and hot getting there.
Oh my gosh, dude, yesterday it was like 11 o'clock. It's like, I don't know, 70 degrees, but it was like 98% humidity. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then by the end of the day, it's like 90 degrees and like 98%. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Atlanta,
you are living up to your name.
Yeah, then you got to come to Denver area and deal with the altitude, and see how that kicks your butt, and have some runs or some bikes.
So funny story. That's kind of some of what Rob Jones and I were talking about, and then we'll get out of here. I got this little breath trainer, right? So my lungs are kind of trash from years of stupidity, and I've been working on increasing lung capacity and stuff like that. So that's that. Well, they actually, there's a lot of guys that'll use that for altitude training because you can crank it. So like you're really forcing yourself to breathe hard as you're training. So maybe I'll have to do that sometime. Come into Denver and do some altitude training.
Yeah.
All right, guys, get out there, love some people, and serve your customers well, as you heard Travis share about earlier. Give some quality service versus quantity. Peace out, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.